Why do tourists like cross-border routes? How are the Chinese and Kazakh tour operators going to develop tourism in the border territories? What is the difference between toponyms Zhemenei and Zimunai? Where is Kazakhstan's cold pole? How do the inhabitants of Urunkaika celebrate the Nowruz? How to book a horse taxi? What is abundant in Markakol Lake? To answer these questions, the Outdoor KZ permanent TV expedition will visit the East Kazakhstan region of the Republic of Kazakhstan and the Altay district of Xinjiang Uygur Autonomous Region of China. The wild nature of Kazakhstan is rich and diverse. For long centuries, mountains, steppes, deserts and forests were the best friends of those who loved and understood their native land. They gave man food, shelter roof and hideaway from the enemies. Over time, our way of life has changed, but the nature still generously shares its wealth with us. At present, the landscape and biological diversity of Kazakhstan attracts an increasing number of tourists and lovers of active recreation. Together with the Outdoor KZ constantly acting TV expedition, you will visit the most beautiful pictorial places of Kazakhstan and learn how experienced travelers survive in the wild. For European tourists, the phrase Central Asia sounds like a password, like a pass to the world of exotic and adventure. 8 centuries ago, Marco Polo and William of Robrach first told the Western Europe inhabitants about a mysterious land similar to an East fairy tale. In their memoirs, you could find characters such as centaurs, cyclops and winged griffins. At that time, none of the readers doubted the reality of the fantastic creatures described by the father-founders of adventure tourism. Then, to get from Europe to Central Asia, it was necessary to spend half a lifetime, or even a lifetime. Most adventurers who ventured to travel to unknown lands found eternal peace in unmarked graves in the vast territories of Central Asia. And the few lucky ones who could safely return home gained a worldwide fame. Now it is much easier to get to Central Asia than in the time of Marco Polo, but this region still attracts fans of something mysterious and enigmatic. Last year, more than 2 million tourists visited Mongolia and more than 50 million China. Many of them, after examining the sightseeing of China and Mongolia, wish to continue their journey to the East Kazakhstan region. The growing demand for cross-border tours pushed Kazakh and Chinese experts to start a dialogue and cooperation in this area.
Конечно, трансграничные маршруты всегда были популярны, если во время одного путешествия можно посетить сразу.
Of course, cross-border routes have always been popular. An opportunity to visit 2 countries during one trip the overwhelming majority of tourists will always find attractive.
К сожалению, нашим турагентам и туроператорам приходится работать в условиях жесткой.
Therefore, for travel agents and tour operators, this is no doubt a good competitive advantage. Unfortunately, Kazakhstan's tour operators and travel agencies operate under fierce competition in the international tourist market. Beginners in this business are usually full of optimism, but after some time they are surprised to understand that for some reason the queue of tourists does not line up on their proposals, and for every tourist they have to fight. They can fight only one way: to improve the quality of service, to invent something new that other operators do not offer, and to compete with the price. If, for example, our dear colleagues from Mongolia and Kyrgyzstan offer approximately such adventures, but with better quality of service or at a good price, then even a small competitive advantage statistically turns into a powerful economic factor. This is clearly illustrated by Mongolia with 2 million ecological and adventure tourists annually. The East Kazakhstan region is very rich with tourist resources, and I think the project of creating cross-border routes will only make them more in demand.
Только увеличит привлекательность этих ресурсов, их востребованность.
Visiting the East Kazakhstan region only once, the Outdoor KZ team just fell in love with this marvelous region, which is rich with tourist resources and has great opportunities to become a tourist mecca of world significance. Therefore, when we were invited to participate in the Kazakhstan-China conference on the problems of cross-border tourism organized by the Department of Tourism and External Relations of the East Kazakhstan region, we immediately flew to the regional center of East Kazakhstan, the city of Ust-Kamenogorsk. The coordination of the details took several hours, and now on a small An-24 plane we go to the district center of Zhaisan. By car this distance could take 6 to 7 hours, and domestic airlines delivered us to Zhaisan in 50 minutes. The ticket costs 6,000 tenge per person. The Kazakh delegation should gather in the hotel of Zhaisan and take special buses there. Nevertheless, having coordinated all the details with the Aimak, we flew to Zhaisan 3 days earlier to make a short report about the tourist resources of the district. In 1840, the village of Zhemenei was founded on the banks of the river Zhemenei. Later it was renamed into Zhaisan. The town still has ancient houses built in the second half of the 19th century. Now Zhaisan has 15,000 people. The population of the whole region is approaching 50,000 people. Like other members of the delegation, we firstly settled in a comfortable hotel in the center of the city, but in the tourism department of the local Aimak, we were advised to visit the tourist camp Mali Zhemenei, from where one can see a wonderful view of the Zhaisan Hollow. To climb to the mountains took about 40 minutes. This tourist camp specializes in ethnic and ecological tourism with various elements of adventure travel. Such programs are designed for a mass tourist with an average income level. More often than not, people of mature age who have been engaged in professional career in their youth are showing interest in it, and now they have the opportunity and desire to see our planet in all its diversity. Tourists of this target group as a rule travel the world, visiting inexpensive resorts in the countryside with beautiful landscapes and preserved national color. In a traditional yurt, we were refreshed with a wonderful beshbarmak and went on a horseback excursion to the upper reaches of the river Zhemenei. We wanted to see the Zhaisan Hollow from the height of 2,500 meters to be able to compare the local landscapes with the territory of the Chinese country of Zimunai, where we would go the next day.
Zimunai
is the Chinese transcription of the Kazakh name of Zhemenei. The state border divided the area of Zhemenei into two parts, but on both its sides, the Kazakh language is still the language of interstate communication. This greatly facilitates the cooperation of the cross-border tourism providers. Horses slowly but tirelessly lift us to the upper reaches of the Zhemenei Gorge. On the northern slopes there is still a lot of snow, but spring insistently declares its rights. There are many ardent supporters of spring. They put on festive outfits and tirelessly sing laudatory hymns in her honor. Some of them, unable to keep their emotions, even embark on a dance. The grouse has not yet begun the mating season, but they're already gathering in flocks and are looking forward to when the air temperature rises to a romantic 10 degrees Celsius. Then the real chivalric tournaments will start. For now, only the most temperamental gentlemen are practicing their fighting skills. Groundhogs hibernate early, in late August. Over a long winter they slept very well and now are full of energy. There is a tradition that if a groundhog leans out of the burrow for the first time in the spring, gets scared of its shadow and hides in a burrow back, spring will come late and the summer will be cold. A Groundhog Day begins with a good sunbath. After a stuffy burrow, it is so nice to lie down in the fresh air and to air a fur coat of the underground dampness smell. But fur is now expensive, so do not forget about caution. It is better to hide in a hole after all. Is the cold summer really waiting for us? Now we leave from the tourist camp of Mali Zhemenei for the Chinese city of Zimunai. Meanwhile, all the participants of the conference had already gathered in Zaisan, and we had to interrupt our unity with nature for a while to find out how to transform this wonderful hobby into a sustainable business. From Zaisan to the checkpoint Mai Kapchagai, you can get in about 40 minutes by car. Customs formalities take about an hour. And half an hour later, the conference participants are already in the center of Zimunai district, the town of Zimunai. First you need to register with the migration police and then you can stay in the hotel. In the evening, the conference participants are acquainted with the host party, employees of the Altay district administration, Xinjiang Uygur Autonomous Region. A part of the delegation from the East Kazakhstan region, we are currently in Zimunai. It borders with Zaisan district. The purpose of our visit is to establish good neighbor relations, new contacts with travel companies and develop new tourist routes. Today we have already had one working meeting during which the tourist resources of the Altay region were presented to us. We introduced our proposals to Chinese colleagues. Everybody was satisfied with the results. We are awaiting visits and a trip ahead along the tourist routes of Zimunai. Annually, about 60 million foreign tourists are visiting China, and foreign currency earnings from tourism to the economy of the country exceed $50 billion. Of course, in this huge tourist flow, the share of environmental tourists is still modest, but it increases every year. The leader of the Kazakh delegation, the head of the Department of Tourism and Foreign Relations of the East Kazakhstan region, Jasulan Sosebayev, introduced the general rules for visiting the region by foreign tourists to the Chinese colleagues. Then he told them about the efforts of the regional administration to make the document formalities for foreign guests as quick and as comfortable as possible. From the Chinese side, representatives of authorized bodies and tourist companies attended the meeting. Presentations of Kazakhstan travel agencies caused great interest. The parties came to an understanding that although the requirements of the state security of both countries are higher than the interest of commercial tourism, but nevertheless border and visa procedures can be optimized to make the document formalities as fast as possible. Organized groups arriving with tourist purposes will pass customs and border control without queue.
В рамках подготовки Казахстана к Экспо государство многое сделано в упрощении визового режима.
The state has done a lot in simplifying the visa regime. Europeans can come to us for 15 days without visa. Visa procedure for the Chinese was already simplified, but if we reduce some bureaucratic formalities more, the flow of tourists can increase. Therefore, the injections of funds into the economy of our country will also increase.
Это значит, увеличится вливание в экономику нашей страны.
In the evening, Chinese partners invited members of the delegation to the concert. As the Zimunai district population is predominantly Kazakh-speaking, Kazakh folk songs and dances are mostly in the repertoire. Well, and of course, what kind of trip to China can be done without shopping? Although modern trade erases the boundaries for goods, and virtually everything we saw on the market of Zimunai you can buy at about the same price in any city in Kazakhstan, yet some souvenirs need to be brought. The conference is over. The participants are going home, and the team of the permanent expedition Outdoor KZ continues its journey through the tourist facilities of the East Kazakhstan region. Our path lies to Lake Markakol. Now we go to the promo tour on the route Markakol, Kien, Kurish and Katon Karagay. Here are the members of our expedition. Behind the bridge, across the Black Irtish, the road turns in the direction of the village of Tract. On the left, there is the boundless Irtish steppe, and the tops of Kochum Ridge whiten to the right. After the village, the road starts to climb up to the mountain saddle. Landscapes change literally before our eyes. It seemed that we had just been in the Great Steppe and suddenly found ourselves in the dense Siberian taiga. While we already felt the breath of spring in the valley, then in the taiga the winter holds its position firmly. During the snowfall, sometimes the road turns into a real off-road adventure. We have to take shovels and dig out our vehicles. Road machinery cleans the way, but overnight blizzard can put new snowdrifts on. A delightful panorama of the lake valley is opened from the mountain saddle. On the eastern shore of the lake, in the intermountain valley, lies the village of Urunkaika. People here are engaged in cattle breeding, work in the forestry and Markakol State Nature Reserve, whose office is located on the village outskirts. In recent years, local residents are actively developing a new type of entrepreneurial activity: tourism.
Это небольшое село, немного больше 100 домов.
This is a small village, about 100 houses. Its name originates from the Urunkai tribe who lived in the territory of Markakol district. It was a tribe of hunters and fishermen, and the native community still retains traditional skills. But now fishing and hunting are no longer of such economic importance as before. Instead of them, various kinds of tourism are developed now. It is adventure tourism with equestrian tours in summer and winter tobogganing, mountain and ecotourism. In sport fishing, you can fish for grayling outside the reserve. In the lake, just local people can go fishing. Now, as everything is covered with a 2-meter snow and you cannot go anywhere, we can travel by sledge on the ice of Lake Markakol.
Вот мы можем только путешествовать на санях по льду озера Маркаколь.
In Urunkaika, you can cheaply stay with local residents or rent a special guest house. We decided to try both. Indira and her husband Sasha keep a few cows and horses and on occasion receive tourists. Sasha jokingly says that he works as a taxi driver. His equestrian taxi, the only possible form of transport in wintertime. Revenues are not so large, but given that most of the food products they provide themselves, they have enough to live on.
Что за блюдо?
What kind of dish is this? This is cottage cheese, sour cream, onion and greens. The first time I'll try this dish, cottage cheese with onions and greens without sugar.
Без сахара.
Без сахара.
Вкусно?
Вкусно?
Delicious.
Точно вкусно?
It resembles cheese. While a night's lodging in the house of local residents can be considered a budget option, the tourists less constrained in the means can rent a separate guest house. Although it was not so easy getting to it through snowdrifts. The cold pole in Kazakhstan registered by meteorologists is located 30 kilometers from Lake Markakol in the vicinity of Bobrovka and Uspenka villages. Sometimes the temperature drops to minus 56 degrees there. Also, this region beats all records in the depth of the snow cover. One has only to take a step away from the trails to sink into the snow up to his waist. Therefore, we are going to explore the surroundings on skis. How nice to get up early in the morning and ski for 20 kilometers.
Конечно, маркаколь – это очень значительный туристический ресурс.
Of course, markakol is a very significant tourist resource. This is a value not only of regional, but I'm not afraid of the pathos word of global significance. Most of the lake is located on the territory of the reserve, so the tourist flow here is limited. But the modern nature conservation strategy allows limited, strictly controlled use of natural resources for tourist purposes, even in specially protected areas. Nowadays, environmental organizations recognize that local people must somehow be involved in conservation processes, because those natural resources that profit nothing are usually not appreciated. The morning fog is dissipated and the outlines of the Kocham Ridge are visible through the haze. The peak of Aksubas, which the locals called Samovar, whitens on the horizon. 100 years ago, Austrian prisoners of war paved the road from Canton Karagay to Markakol through this ridge. The story runs that the great-grandfather of the famous actor Arnold Schwarzenegger is buried somewhere there. The morning sun did not have time to please the eye as the next wave of fog covered the valley. Everything was shrouded in white. About 70 small rivers and streams flow into Markakol. Soon, Uskuch and grayling will begin to rise on them for spawning. At this time, the staff of the reserve will start a hot season, because in the spring, fish stocks are particularly vulnerable.
Местным жителям разрешается вылавливать 5 килограммов рыбы в день. Рыбу ловят.
Local residents are allowed to catch 5 kilograms of fish per day. Basically, they catch uskuch. Uskuch is a local endemic subspecies of Siberian linok, and local residents can sell their 5 kilograms of fish to tourists and also give them for rent houses, sledges, a boat, or place them on a camp in their houses.
Обороты становятся все более
Now community-based tourism is becoming increasingly popular. Another name is agro or ethnotourism. Many tourists come to remote places to just live in the village and get acquainted with life, culture, if it is not lost. The residents of the village Urunkaika managed to preserve the way of rural life that developed on the shore of this lake for more than 1 century. Great fun.
Также можно для туристов предложить на подводах подъехать к рыбакам.
You can drive on carts to the fishermen who are entitled to a 5-kilogram fish catch and buy some fish from them.
Купить можно у них рыбу.
How nice to go skiing, but even better ride on a horse-drawn sledge. We ask our hostess to call a local taxi, and in an hour, 3 guest horse sledges come to the guest house. Today we dug up our cars from the drifts to midnight, and in the morning we decided to change to local SUVs. For this type of landscape, this of course is the best means of transportation. In the south we have all the flowers, but here we are celebrating Nowruz in the drifts 2 meters high. On the lake, several local men are fishing. We get acquainted with the fisherman Abiken Shibutov. Abiken Aga has been living in Urunkaika for a long time and can tell a lot about this region. Abiken uses a simple fishing tackle, a twig, a line and a simple burr. The catch today is not rich, only 2 small fish. An old fisherman says that the fish is activated as soon as the rivers flowing into the lake are freed from the ice. Learning that we are shooting a television show, Abiken refuses to take money and says that he is treating us with fish from the heart. And his neighbor, after hearing our conversation, also decided to give us a present. Sergei, the expedition cook, is thrilled with such a gift. He decides to give us a masterclass in cooking fish soup.
I
work in a tourist agency. I organized catering for hikes and expeditions. I have everything for this. Onions, potatoes and fish are thrown at the same time. While they do not have time to boil soft in 15 minutes, the shape remains. So when we're throwing a bay leaf, we throw bay leaf at the very beginning. "15 minutes later, the fish broth is ready. How delicious! Although this stage of the journey was not very extreme and there is no danger to our health yet, the doctor of the expedition, Yuri Alexandrovich, does not forget his duties.
На такой высоте, при такой белизне, даже если солнышко будет не
Being at such an altitude with such whiteness, the dose of ultraviolet radiation will be very high, even if the sun is not so bright. Therefore, it is desirable to cover your eyes with sunglasses. In the spring, the weather in the Altai is unstable. We were lucky. Markakol gave us 1 sunny day. But the weather got worse just the following day.
Пошел снег, нам нужно, наверное, заканчивать на этот раз нашу экспедицию, потому что если
It is snowing. We probably need to finish our expedition, because if the pass is covered up with snow, then we could stop here for a long time. And the next route of our permanent TV expedition lies in South Kazakhstan. So we visited the extreme east of Kazakhstan, saw 2 meters snow, and now let's see what South Kazakhstan will meet us with.
Интересно, посмотрим, чем нас встретит Южный Казахстан, Чимкентская область.
While blizzards are flying in the east of Kazakhstan, the pistachios are already beginning to blossom in the south, and the team of Altay KZ is sent to meet the spring in the south Kazakhstan region.